What's up, everybody? We are back. Welcome to Real Chronicles, brought to you by RealTalkInc.com. I'm your host, David. I am joined with Ryan the Temp.
Not a goddamn temp.
Just Leo from an undisclosed location.
It's just me from an undisclosed location.
And making her return, her triumphant return, Jenny the Cat Lady is back.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Jenny.
The catless cat lady.
And technically, I did make an appearance last week in the episode. If, for anyone that was listening, I did a nice little coronavirus PSA.
And speaking of that pandemic, we're back again for your quarantine needs, bringing you one of the funnest topics I think we've ever done on here, guilty pleasures. A few years ago, we actually covered this right when the podcast first started, but Ryan wasn't on and Leo wasn't on, and I'm not even sure if Jen was on that episode, but I feel like it's appropriate, perfect time to bring that back so we can break down our favorite awful movies and what we loved about those awful movies. Rye, I expect your entire filmography that you've ever watched to be
pretty much. I just went through my DVD collection.
See, but you say awful, but none of these movies are awful to me.
Oh, these are
all
awful.
Of these movies
They're awful
are
to me.
Great. Yeah, my list might be awful to you, but to me,
I'm talking
these
about
are American treasures.
No, to me, my list is awful. These movies are just not good. They're just extremely entertaining, and I have a very, very strong love for them. But before we get to that, let's get into the news. First bit of news that broke. This is strictly rumor, but Disney is in talks to release Black Widow and Mulan on digital and Disney Plus.
Oh.
So it was Grace Randolph on Twitter mentioned that she had heard rumblings. It's very early talks, but it is a strong consideration that they made moves to just stream both of those movies. The reason for it, someone asked on Twitter, why would Disney do that? Disney needs money. And if the number one studio in probably the entire film industry needs money, it just shows the state that the industry is actually in right now. So no word as of yet. This is very, very early rumors. If they do it, I can see this happening mid-May and early June, depending on where we're at. I think they probably will give it a few more weeks to see where we are at. If things are getting better, then we'll get it in theaters. If not, we'll get it on digital and Disney Plus. Initial thoughts.
I'm down for it. I mean, I think they could make the money back with other movies. I think it'll be perfectly fine. You have plenty of other Marvel movies down the pike that you can release. And also with the live action Mulan, we have the original. I think we'll be fine with getting that on Disney Plus as well. If they want, after everything's done, they can try to release it in theaters.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan on this one completely. Yeah, to be fair, I think when this whole thing started, everyone was like, "Oh, it'll just be for 1 or 2 weeks," and then I think the severity and reality is starting to hit. I think we have to kind of get used to this as maybe a potentially new norm for maybe another month. And you know what? If that's the case, you got to start planning ahead. And I love the forward thinking by Disney. And honestly, if they're the ones starting it, the other people are probably going to start follow suit.
That's I'm going to get to my point in a second, Jen.
So I actually disagree. I do not think that this should go to digital or to Disney Plus yet. And I'm going to say it, and I'm going to pull out the woman card. But interesting that it's both female-led films that they're going to be so easy to just like pass this off onto digital or Disney streaming. Now, the movies that have already released in theaters, like Onward, let's say for just Disney, Onward, right? I get it. They had to put it on digital. They're putting it on Disney Plus this week on April 3rd, I believe it's premiering.
Yep.
Frozen 2 came out early, but that was already out. Like, I totally get that. Like, if it already had a theatrical release and you had some form of a box office, put it on there. So if Mulan did come out or Black Widow, like, fine. Do it then after a few weeks. But before, you need to give it a chance. So bring it out. It's going to bring in the money, so you might as well just postpone it. And I get it. You don't want to mess up your film schedule, but I just think it's convenient that the two films that they're thinking of like just going straight to that are two female-led films.
But it's also the two next movies.
I was about to say
it
happens to be those are the two releases.
Then I understand that, but they can postpone it back.
So here's my hot take on this. I think the theater industry is going to be in trouble for the next few years because of this. I think that $1 billion will not be easy to attain anymore because it will be a while before when we get back to the norm that everyone's going to be wanting to go to the theater. So with that being said, I agree with Ryan and Leo on this. I think they just happen to be the two movies that were up next. I mean, no one cares about Artemis Fowl, and no one really cares about New Mutants anymore. These two are the two movies that were going to make money for Disney at the box office. So, if this is what it will be done, and they are able to get, I guarantee the streaming price won't be $20. I wouldn't be shocked if they hire it because of the magnitude of these two movies, how much money, especially Mulan. I think Mulan was going to do amazing overseas.
So I would be curious to see what actually, like, what are these like video on demand, like how much money has actually been made during this quarantine. And I know like we're not going to have those figures yet. And I know that's something that will definitely come out soon, but a little later. But, I feel like if people are worried about their jobs and like almost 4 million people in this country have already filed for unemployment, that people aren't really spending because going to the movies, you're paying those $20 and it's expensive, but you're going there for that whole experience. But in your house, like, I don't know that I could justify on one movie spending $20. Yes, I'd own it, but I don't know. What if I don't like it? I'm not going to spend $20 on a movie I don't like.
You wouldn't own it. It's only a rental.
Oh, it's only a rental. So
yes.
No, I think some of them you can buy for $20.
It's only a rental.
It's only a rental for $20.
Yes.
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm out.
It's still a good deal for people that pay to go to the movie theater.
I understand, but like then if that's it, like it's just when I have to think of the priorities of my household and how much money, I feel like it's too much.
Well, I think if people could go to the movie theater right now and they know they'd be safe, they'd be going to the movie theater.
Now, actually, also, if you have a family of 4, you normally spend more than that. So spending $20 for a family of 4 isn't bad in your house. But so it all depends on your...
Sorry to interrupt, but to be fair, Jenny, this is also like, instead of not making any money whatsoever, they're making something back, which is a lot to say for any kind of industry right now.
Oh, no, they have to. You absolutely have to sell what you can online. So the fact that we have at least the technology to be able to stream or to be able to do this like video on demand, this pay-per-view is great. It's the only lifeline that they have right now.
And I wonder why HBO Max, completely off topic, why HBO Max is not launching early.
Yeah.
It doesn't, to me, it doesn't make any sense. The app has to be ready. I mean, that's the only fathomable reason that I could see why they haven't.
When is it set to launch again?
In May. Why are they not pushing it a month up?
So since you're talking about that, I think NBC's network, Peacock, was set to launch with the start, I believe, of the Olympics, and they are actually going, or what I read, they're going to move forward with launching it, despite the fact that the Olympics have been postponed.
As they should.
They should. I mean, you might as well.
Seriously. Now, from 2 female-led one superhero film and 2 female-led movies to another female superhero film, Wonder Woman has been pushed to August 14th.
No.
because they don't have a streaming service to use, so they will definitely be.
I mean, they do, but
they do have DC.
Oh,
Universe.
we count that as a streaming service, guys? I didn't know people still use that.
You
That's
still
ironic.
use it.
Barely.
They were the first ones. It's ironic, and it's like, no, never mind.
You know what the problem is? It's not that the content is great. Their layout is the worst out of any of the streaming services. It is awful.
No, and their content's getting worse and worse.
Oh, is it really, right?
Yeah, like I was going to watch all the Superman yesterday, but they only have Superman 1 on there now.
That's terrible. Like, I got it day one, and I can tell you, what is it, Ryan? Like 2 years old already at this point?
Maybe a year or two.
Over a year for sure. I think I've gone on it maybe 6 times in the entire. And I mean, it's $7-8, so I don't even see it when it comes out. It's just part of the bills that I pay. So, but it's not a good. It's very not user friendly. So that's probably one of the main reasons I haven't really gone on it too much.
September 15th, 2018.
Okay,
when it came out.
So a little bit over
coming
a
up
year.
on 2 years.
Coming up on 2
They
years.
released Wonder Woman on that. I bet you people will sign up for it though.
Yeah, I guess. But I also think Warner's has a deal with HBO Max, I think, for some of their movies. So if it does go there, maybe it'll go there. I don't know. I mean, I see it. August 14th is a good date. God willing, we're all back to normal by then, that we could get some form of like normalcy in this world.
Yeah.
So it'll be August 14th that Wonder Woman releases. But I can guarantee you it's not making $1 billion anymore.
Oh, no.
And that sucks because I thought that was a surefire $1 billion.
Did the first one make $1 billion?
No.
Yeah.
This one would have.
You think so?
Would've.
Because the first one caught everyone by surprise. This one did it.
Okay.
This one won't. It's always the sequel.
Even though it's the sequel?
The sequel always does better. Dark Knight made $1 billion. Batman Begins made like 600, 700
Yeah, but
million.
Dark Knight had a little more star power, no?
I mean, Gal Gadot is pretty big.
Yeah, but you think she's bigger than
Christian
Heath
Bale
Ledger?
wasn't as big in 2008 that he is now.
Christian Bale was big to Christian Bale fans.
Yeah, and
But
Gal
not the other
Gadot's
one.
big to Gal Gadot
But you had
fans.
Heath Ledger,
I don't
and
think.
there was a lot of controversy with that.
I guess.
No? Okay.
I don't know. I just and look at every single Marvel movie.
Yeah, I think even the Tobey Maguire, didn't Spider-Man 3
Spider-Man
do better
3 is the
Toby.
highest grossing of the bunch. Yeah.
Yeah,
Toby.
people usually do well.
Yeah, so the sequels do well. If a sequel does poorly, that means your franchise is hot garbage and you need to go somewhere with it. All right, so moving on from that, this is for Rye and Leo. This is very sad news. The Flash season 6 has been delayed. And
Yeah, I got confused by that.
So the finale, I don't think the finale's been filmed. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I got that part.
So-
So I would show what you have up until then, and then go from there. But from what if I read it correctly, they're stopping like up until 6 episodes up to.
I think so. So I mean, I still watch The Flash. It's
And is it that they're tackling those on to the next season?
No, it's going to be later 2020.
Okay.
So what I think is that new seasons in September are probably going to get pushed to the sweeps in January. So I don't think we're going to get new seasons from September to the end of the year like we usually do. I think it'll be after sweeps in January. But I think The Flash is the only DCEU show I still watch. I've officially given up on Batwoman. And I think, Rye, you still watch it, right?
I haven't watched in a while. At this point, I'm going to just binge it when it's all on demand on Netflix. But I still watch Flash and Legends, and I am going to check out Stargirl.
And Leo, you're still true to the
Yeah.
DC.
I'm up to date on the entire DC TV lineup right now. I can't blame you for bowing out though. Batwoman's still pretty rough. And yeah, like Ryan, I'm also I definitely want to give Stargirl a shot too.
Yeah, I probably will give that a shot and then quit after 5 episodes. Next bit of news: the Terminator's Michael Biehn joins the cast of The Mandalorian season 2. For any fan of the original Terminator, that is Kyle Reese, who is the father of John Connor. Spoiler alert. You're 36 years too late on that.
How dare you?
I like the casting. It's I don't think he's done anything in a really long time, right?
I think smaller roles.
Smaller roles, so this would be cool to see. And then last bit of news that I have here is the Golden Globe extends eligibility requirements due to the coronavirus.
Okay.
I was actually talking off the line with you guys actually about Elizabeth Moss in the Invisible Man. Like, I think because I think a lot of Oscar movies are getting pushed, and I think movies that I thought were gonna come out, like I had a Guillermo del Toro movie in my 10 for Best Picture. I'm moving that out because they've completely shut down production, so that movie's not going to be done by the end of this year. There's a lot of stuff that's probably going to get moved around. So it wouldn't shock me if Elizabeth Moss, if it's such a doll of movies, that she gets in and gets a Best Actress nomination somewhere.
Oh.
Yeah, she's really good at it. Don't get me wrong. It's not like it would be unwarranted. I just figured she would fall in line with Lupita and Toni Collette, like real strong female horror performances. But other movies just came out and people forgot about it. So we shall see what happens there with the Golden Globes moving their eligibility requirements. I can see the Oscars doing the same thing too. So we will see what happens with that. So, but before we get to our main category, which is guilty pleasures, I did want to ask you guys to pick one film that you want to highlight from your quarantine watch this week.
Okay.
So I've seen like 30 movies this week, so I will go last on this. Rye, what do you have? Do you have anything in mind?
I have two in mind that I watched just yesterday. I watched Shawshank Redemption yesterday for the first time in a long.
And
did you cry?
Got teary-eyed, yeah.
Oh man, it broke me.
And I watched Kingpin as well with
Kingpin. Oh yes, the comedy, right?
Yeah, with Bill Murray and Woody Harrelson.
How is my boy Bill Murray on that?
He's typical Bill Murray, awesome. and then this time I will say he plays a great heel. So he's supposed to play the douchey guy in this one, and he does it perfectly.
Awesome. What about you, Leo? You got anything?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been sticking mainly to binge watching TV shows. So I'm currently on I'm rewatching season 2 of Westworld. But in between, I managed to make time for a rewatch of Jojo Rabbit.
Yes.
And a rewatch of some of the Harry Potter films.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, so I mean, overall, I think the Jojo Rabbit rewatch was probably my favorite one because I only saw it twice. Once for the show, and then the second time I did it with because Stacy was putting her parents onto it.
Yep.
So I was watching it again, and I just realized that like the Scarlett Johansson scene with the soot is still impactful.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And also just the reveal of her shoes when you notice that she's gone. When you notice that she got hung by the Nazis, like I realized the build up to the scene was so expertly done because it's like you don't know it's coming whatsoever. It reminded me of like your description of like the jump scares of horror movies.
Yes.
Because the scene builds up like it's a normal day, nothing's happening, and then bam, music stops. You see the shoes. It's like wow.
It's
the
most effective thing you can do. It lets your imagination do all the work, and I think that's when a film really works best. Jen?
So I'm going to say, so I haven't really watched a lot of TV or movies. So I'm going to say A League of Their Own because we saw that the other night. And it's always a good movie. It's actually not on my guilty pleasures list, but it maybe should have been an honorable mention because I really, really do like the movie. Obviously, really strong female cast, female led. A League of Their Own.
Oh, I don't think that's a guilty pleasure. It's a really good movie.
Yes, but it doesn't mean that. See, I take guilty pleasures that it doesn't have to be a terrible
that guilty
movie.
Pleasure is
a guilty pleasure is like to me
a 27 on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's something that I can watch all the time.
That's not a guilty
pleasure.
That's
a guilty pleasure
that's
for me.
That's not what I consider guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure. I think me and David might be more aligned. Yeah. A guilty pleasure movie that when you say, "Hey, I like this movie," you immediately have to follow it up with, I know it's not
perfect example. You like Grease 2. Grease 2 is terrible, but you defend it. That's a guilty pleasure.
That's on my list.
Exactly, but that's a bad movie. That's
no. See, that is that is to the opinion. That's your opinion.
I think that's
and that is
I think
some
that's
people's
I think
opinion.
that's everyone's opinion.
That's not everyone's opinion because there is a Grease 2 fan club out there.
All right, so
we'll get
together. We'll get to that when we get to there.
Okay.
So any other movies you want to highlight?
So League of Their Own, great film. Guilty pleasure for me because I can watch it over and over again, and yes, that is how I define it.
So, do you think Titanic is a guilty pleasure? Because Titanic is, I think it's a little overrated, but I think
not for me.
But I think it's a good movie. But you saw it 7 times. That's not like a guilty pleasure.
I saw it 5 times in the theaters in 1997 because it was Leonardo DiCaprio, and I was, how old was I? 10. Hello, and he was a babe, still a babe, and so like that is the difference of watching it. But that's not a movie I sit down and I can watch all the time. Or when I see it's on a streaming network, I'm like, yes, I need to watch Titanic.
So with that,
that's not it.
So with that being said, all these lists are going to be batshit crazy. And so it should be a good time when we get to there. But I did want to highlight 3 things I watched this week. I'll save the worst for last year. So I saw Jim Carrey's best performance in The Truman Show. If you guys have not seen The Truman Show,
love that
it is easily his best performance of his career. And you know what it reminds me of? Uncut Gems. And why? When I say that, I mean everyone expected to go see Truman Show and probably expect like the comedy that Jim Carrey. Yeah, exactly.
Like
but what they got was Jim Carrey saying, "I'm gonna take this shit serious now." And he knocks it out of the ballpark. He actually won the Golden Globe back-to-back years. He won this, and then he won for Man on the Moon. So Truman Show is excellent. It's not long. It's an hour and 40 minutes. You'll be in and out real quick. The other thing I wanted to highlight was actually for the first time since I was a kid, I saw Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Nice.
It's cool. I liked it more than I thought I would. I will say that.
Are you going to watch Bogus next?
I gotta find it. I saw it. It was on the Stars app, so I was able to get the first one. If I can find the second one, I'll definitely give it a shot. And then finally, I saw for this podcast, I wanted to give it a shot and see if I still liked it, or didn't like it. Howard the Duck.
What the crap?
Howard the Duck is really bad, but it's very funny. It is very funny, guys. No? Am I alone?
It is.
Wow, I gotta give you so much more props than wow, damn, bro.
I really did my homework on these guilty pleasure things. I'm like, did I? Because I remember liking it as a kid. I really hadn't seen it in a long time, so I was like, let me give this a shot. It's a movie, all right.
It's a movie.
It's a movie.
It's got a beginning and an end, all right.
And people talk.
And for people that know how I feel about George Lucas, it is apropos that George Lucas was behind Howard the Duck. It really, really is. So that brings us to our main topic for today, which is guilty pleasures. Before we get to it, how was this making this list for you guys? Was it easy? Was it fun?
It was difficult. There's so I realize I have a terrible taste in movies. And like Jenny said, I loved each and every one of these movies, but like dwindling down to like 10 and honorable mentions, it was difficult.
What about you, Rye?
No, I had a lot of fun. I did do some research. I'm like, how's that guilty pleasure? That's a guilty pleasure? No, I'm not. Like there was like one person had Ghostbusters. I'm like, no, that's not.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I was looking at that. I looked at that list in particular because I think we talked about it on our group chat.
Yeah.
Did you see all the other movies on that list? They're all really great movies. Like
there was a couple on there. I'm like, no way.
I'm like, that's probably like someone that would agree with Jenny's take on what a guilty pleasure is, as opposed to.
I agree. Like, I think a guilty pleasure is a movie that you can watch over and over and over, no matter what.
But
whether because not everyone is going to think that's a great movie or that's whatever it is.
Someone doesn't think.
Also, there are great movies out there that people still don't agree with that are great movies. I'm sure there is someone out there that would say The Godfather sucks.
Well, they don't know what a good movie
them
is.
And David in a room together.
Oh, I would love that person.
I think he would be like tried for murder because like that's just like, so it really is like a guilty pleasure to me is a movie I can watch over and over and over again. And that just has stuck with me throughout the year. So every movie on my list has been a movie that has been with me since I first saw it when I was little.
So that's Jen's criteria. I'm gonna give my little criteria, and I think Leo, me, you have the same criteria.
Yeah.
Guilty pleasures for me are movies that you are literally ashamed to say you like. I
am never ashamed.
Good. That's why you have your criteria and we have ours. So a movie you're ashamed to like, and you are just like, I kind of like Batman and Robin, but you say like really, really low. So you're like, you hope not everyone hears you. So before we get to our list, I'm going to read through some of our readers and some of their choices. So shout out to Chelsea. She said Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yes.
That's a good one.
I've never seen that. So Marcus, friend of the show, he has a lot of 80s movies. Also, all 4 American Pies, not the straight-to-DVD ones. Halloween Resurrection, which made me almost pass out. Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection. Both are hot garbage. A Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake. I almost passed out there, too. Shout out to Marcus. Michelle, Howard the Duck, which we just spoke about. Shout out to special friend of the show, Casey, Spice World. I know that's on Jenny's list. And the hot take that I'm glad it's not on my list, but I'm glad someone mentioned it. Carlos with Toxic Avenger.
Oh my God, that's such a good movie.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh my God, Ryan, like the director's from New Jersey, and it's just nonsense. It is just nonsense. They made a cartoon about it, the Toxic Crusader, in the 90s.
Good memory.
So that is their list, and let's hit our list. So I'm going to let Jen go first here, ladies first, and you can do your honorable mentions in 10 through 6.
Okay, so my honorable mentions are My Girl 2, 13 Going on 30, Simply Irresistible, which is a Sarah Michelle Gellar film. I think it was in 1999. While You Were Sleeping, Practical Magic, little Sandra Bullock there, and A Bronx Tale. See, but it's
Bronx Tale is not a guilty pleasure.
It's a guilty pleasure to me because it's such.
But it's not a guilty. Oh my God!
I have a question.
I'm going.
Yes.
Guilty pleasure is a movie you can watch multiple times, right?
Yes, over and over again.
But we all watch movies multiple times.
So wait, so what would you say is the difference between your guilty pleasure list and your favorite movies list?
Exactly.
I'm just asking. I'm not trying to get. I'm just trying to get clarification.
No, because not every.
I think you
not
got.
Every
I think Leo.
film.
I think you've done it. I think you've done what I can
But
never do.
I love these movies too. I don't know. It's not. I can watch it. Yes, we watch movies multiple times, David. To your. But like this is something that I could put on without fault. Like it's just easy for me to put on. But, it's not something that like I'm like,
your favorite movies
I
be
need
the
to be in the
same?
mood for. Like I'm always in the mood for it.
So wouldn't your favorite movies fall into the same criteria? You could put it on whenever.
I guess that's true. Yes, I guess so.
Well, Leo, I think
So-
you've done something I could never do.
Jenny. I didn't mean to. I just really want to know.
How dare you apply logic?
God damn it, pal! Logic. What is that? So go ahead, keep going.
So my number 10 is A Smoky Mountain Christmas.
Oh, that's a guilty pleasure. That movie is garbage.
That movie is not garbage.
It has like aliens.
Just
and
because
gnomes.
you don't like it, David, doesn't mean it's garbage.
Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad.
So it's a great movie. Dolly Parton, Lee Majors.
Oh, it's so bad.
I've talked about it before on previous episodes. It's also one of my favorite
Christmas episode.
Christmas movies. And my favorite scene is and actually they always play it on CMT since you mentioned it, Ryan. It's usually on there. And then my favorite scene is when she sings "I'd Like to Spend Christmas with Santa." You can watch it on YouTube. It's really good. And yes, that is a guilty pleasure because the movie by default it's a TV movie. It's not great on the theatrics. John Ritter's in it. There's a bunch of Dan Hedaya is in it. So it has a decent cast.
It's like witches.
No, she's a sorceress. Is one, not Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton is like the good one. And Jezebel is, I don't know who the actress is, but anyway. So it's a good movie. Number 9 is Empire Records.
Oh, that's a good movie. That's a good movie.
See, like Empire Records is a guilty pleasure for me, but I don't know that I would define that as a favorite movie. So that's why I feel like, yes, I do have some favorites here that overlap. but not everything is like where I would go. Like if you asked me to do my top 2 or top 3 favorites, like obviously not all of this list is going to be on there. So Empire Records, my favorite scene is just when they're getting ready for Rex Manning Day. And yeah, it's really good. Number 8 is You Got Mail. And so that's Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. And so, again, not everyone likes... It's not a bad movie. I wouldn't define it as a bad movie.
I've never
seen
it. But
it's a third remake of an original, The Shop Around the Corner. And it's just really, really good. And I just think it's really smart that they brought it into. So anytime they email each other is one of my favorites. My number 7 is Some Kind of Wonderful, which not that many people know this movie because it's like it's John Hughes movie, and he wrote it exactly with how he wanted Pretty in Pink to end. So my favorite part is actually the ending. And so the ending when he realizes that it's not Amanda Jones who he wants to be with, but it's his best friend Watts. Great film. And then my number 6 is First Wives Club, and just basically any scene where they're trying to take down their husbands, and that dance scene at the end where they sing "You Don't Own Me."
Nice. Rye? Take it away.
My honorable mentions are Up in Smoke, BVS.
No. You're not gonna bypass that.
Guilty pleasure.
How is it? What's so pleasurable about Batman v Superman?
Anything like pretty much all the Affleck scenes.
You can because I love you and you're a good friend. I'm going to recommend you going to YouTube and typing in Batman scenes in Batman v Superman. You'll save like 2.5 hours.
Awesome.
All right, go for it.
I agree with Ryan on this one. I think BVS would have been on my list too, to be honest.
Oh my god, what you guys have broken my heart. Go ahead.
It's the point of a guilty pleasure. I know it's guilty. A shitty movie.
Oh, it's guilty. All right, go ahead.
Where was I? Batman Forever, the Star Wars prequels, Kung Pao.
Cool. All right, go ahead.
Austin Powers trilogy. Yeah, I kind of cheated there. And The New Guy. Now, number 10, Suicide Squad.
Oh, what the crap?
Ryan. Remember when you said you're not a temp?
Yeah.
I think you're finding out why.
I was just, honestly, me and Casey were literally just sitting watching it before getting ready for this list. And the very beginning is solid. The introduction of the characters is solid. The first hour of the movie is actually pretty solid. It's the second hour that makes you want to turn it off.
It's your guilty pleasure, bro.
Yeah. Do you? Mine are just as bad, so I'm good. Just go ahead.
And for the scene, like I said, if I had to pick up anything, I would say when they're testing Deadshot's accuracy. That's just so well done and funny.
Okay.
Number 9, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. I've loved that since I was a kid.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite scene there?
I have to say when it's the montage of him checking out all the rings and how he goes about them.
I have
he gets punched in the head.
Like, I don't have Ace on my list. I do enjoy Ace, but I don't know why, but that scene when he's in the tank, just stands out to me.
We guys can't do it, Captain.
That's not Snowflake.
That one.
Go ahead.
Number 8, The Mask, another Jim Carrey.
Another great Jim Carrey film, yeah. I see. That's borderline good, I think. Maybe I'm going crazy, but I think that's borderline good.
Favorite scene in this one? I had to say when he's in the club and he turns into the wolf face, and the first time he's in the club.
That's mine too. Love that.
And I know, David, you were waiting for me to say this one. Ready to Rumble?
I actually didn't know you were actually going to put that garbage in there.
As a wrestling fan, I got to put it on here.
I think we should have more pride as wrestling fans. We have a very bad reputation as it is, right?
True. Although shout out to Vice for that documentary they did on the Benoit thing.
Yes.
I forgot to mention that earlier.
Excellent stuff.
And number 6, Grandma's Boy.
So Jenny and I were actually talking about that movie a few days ago. A lot of people told me to see it. This is like 10 years ago. And I saw it, and yeah, typical Dave reaction to that stuff.
Woof, woof, woof.
Wolf. What's your favorite scene in that?
Favorite scene is the party.
Okay. Leo, take it away.
All right. So much like David, when I started making this list, it was pretty much like the movies that I'm embarrassed to actually to like. So I immediately took out all. The other thing I realized was movies that are popular also wouldn't count as a guilty pleasure, because if I say I like Ace Ventura, most people like Ace Ventura. So I'm like, oh, I'm not that embarrassed anymore.
Gotcha.
So I took out all rom-coms. Although, as a man, most rom-coms should be guilty pleasures.
You said it, not me, brother.
I also quickly realized that like it's become a little bit more accepted for guys to like romantic comedies. So I'm not that embarrassed anymore. So,
you know what that Leo? You know what that reminds me of? When we were in high school, well, not even high school, when we were in grammar school. I mean, I'm speaking for myself here, but I fuck with NSYNC and I fuck with the Backstreet Boys.
Same here, brother.
You weren't saying that in 7th and 8th grade. I'll say that.
Bro, that is exactly, you read my mind. So I think what I used to be more embarrassed by isn't really the case anymore.
Yeah.
I also took out anything that was a movie that I watched as a child, because I'm like, these movies are made for kids. Like it's not really, I can't hold it accountable for it not being good because it wasn't really for a smarter generation. So with that being said, David, are you ready to woof?
I got my wolf machine ready. Let's go.
My honorable mentions are, and I also looked up all these movies on Rotten Tomatoes to make sure that majority of people think they're trashed.
Nice.
So Look Who's Talking, the entire franchise.
Ugh.
What?
Armageddon.
Oh, I hate Armageddon. I love the song from Armageddon. I sincerely hate Armageddon.
Yeah. Alien versus Predator.
Ugh.
Con Air.
I kind of did Con Air. I can't.
Yeah, no. So okay, cool. Okay, at least I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the few movies that has a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Ooh.
Staying Alive.
You like Staying Alive?
I do.
I saw it for Jenny.
Music.
And I do like the music, but
Tony Manero, baby, Tony Manero.
As like a stripper.
He's not a stripper. He's a dancer.
He's a talented dancer.
Very talented dancer. On the steroids. Very much on the juice in Staying Alive.
I think you told me that Stallone was the one that directed that one too.
Yes,
so
he's the one that trained him, Jenny said.
So he wrote the script for Staying Alive, I believe, and then he directed it, and then he also worked out with him. Yeah.
Oh, you can tell.
You can tell because he's shredded in that.
The injections in the ass were on point during Staying Alive. He was ripped to shreds.
Oh, man. But yeah, if you thought those are trash, my number 10, The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Oh, I'm so happy other people like this.
I don't love it, but I
That's the only one I've seen out of the entire franchise.
Oh, Ryan,
Oh,
watch the
Ryan.
first one. It's really good.
No,
Don't watch anything else. Watch the first one. No, and
Just
then
the
watch.
first one.
No, in all honesty, all jokes aside, watch the ones with The Rock. I think
right.
The Rock really adds a lot to that franchise.
Can you watch Hobbs and Shaw without watching any of the Fast and the Furious?
No, yeah.
Alright.
It's a slippery slope because they
know
developed
how
their
Sean know each other.
yeah they developed their relationship in the Fast and the Furious franchise, but
Got
you'll
it.
find out that Shaw is a villain, so people don't like that he's like a hero now. But that you go on that road, man. You go on that road.
Yeah, I didn't really do favorite scenes on my list, but as far as Tokyo Drift, it was anything that had to do with like the culture over there.
Yeah.
Like it looked so bombastic and huge and just like loud. I'm like, wow, Tokyo looks pretty fun. My number 9, Starship Troopers.
Oh, that's on a lot of people's list. That when I was doing my research on this, I've never seen Starship Troopers actually.
So it's I caught it one day on TV and I was like, oh, it looks sci-fi. Let me watch it. And I'm a huge sci-fi geek, so I'm like, sure, I should like this. Casper Van Dien plays a character named Juan Rico. Denise Richards plays a character named Carmen Ibanez. Bina Meyer plays a character named Isabella Flores. It's a bunch of white people playing Spanish people in space. It's like a military type thing too. It reminds me of like Edge of Tomorrow kind of aliens. My favorite scene from that would be when Neil Patrick Harris comes in. Spoiler alert! And can read minds.
Oh, I thought you were gonna. If you would have said he came in as a doctor, you would have really gotten me.
No, Dookie Howser. But my number 8 is another movie that I really geeked out on, and is sci-fi as well. 2012's John Carter.
Ugh, that's the first. Ugh.
You'll like this though because I liked it so much. I really wanted the sequels to come out because I wanted to know how the story continues, and I actually ended up like, looking into the books just because I really want to know how the story continues.
And Leo, I think the reason why you never got any more is because I think you were the only person that saw it.
It's true. The movie was not received well at all, but it had a lot of the people from the Wolverine movie, like Gambit. So, like, let's just say, yeah, okay, this is definitely.
So it's like a pseudo X-Men spinoff in your eyes.
Yes, dude, exactly. It had Silver Fox and Gambit. It made me feel like it was part of the X-Men universe. My number 7 is a horror franchise, and my number 6 actually is too. But number 7, Freddy versus Jason.
So I stayed away from horror because I thought those would be the easiest ones, but that's a good choice because I have not. I think it's as such a big horror fan. I think a movie has not aged more poorly that I liked when it first came out than Freddy versus Jason. So that's a really good choice.
Yeah, with Freddy versus Jason, I'm not a big horror fan, and I know David, Jenny, you guys are way more into the whole genre than I am. But I remember when Freddy vs. Jason was announced, I geeked out so much that because I was a huge Freddy Krueger fan, I had never seen any of the Jason movies. I binge watched the franchise. Quickly found out there were way too many Jason movies.
They're all so awfully good, man.
I'm more of a Freddy fan. I just loved his quick wit, the jokes, the humor more. But Freddy vs. Jason is on my list, and my number 6 is Saw after Saw 2. So Saw 3 and on.
So you threw that whole franchise in there.
So Saw 1 and Saw I think Saw 1 is legitimately a good movie,
yes,
and most people remember it like it was smart, really cool twist. Saw 2 was even a little more accepted. When it got to 3 and above, everyone's like, "There's no reason."
Oh yeah,
these plots are ridiculous.
I remember watching Saw 3 and it was close to 2 hours, and I was like, "Why is this movie 2 hours?" There is no reason for this movie to be 2 hours. I'm with you. I think the first one is very, very good, and it has one of the best horror twists ever.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, unfortunately, the rest of the franchise didn't age too well. But if it's ever on, I will make a point of watching it. I still total fan of Jigsaw and his whole twisted and ridiculous plotline.
Oh, awesome. Alrighty, guys. It's time for you guys to woof me. So I have a few honorable mentions. One of them is from last year that I think if we ever do this list again, will probably be on my list. And that's The Fanatic.
Oh, I really thought it was going to be like a top 5er on your list.
I think it's still too new. But that movie is magnificently awfully good. It's fantastic. I also have Masters of the Universe, the Dolph Lundgren movie as an honorable mention. I also have Dolph Lundgren's The Punisher.
Damn.
Yo, I know. I got eyes when I talked about that movie. And then Superman 3 and Superman 4.
Wait, Superman Nuclear Man?
Yes. Guys, destroy Superman. That is fantastic. Like Gene Hackman's great as Nuclear Man, and this is a legit great comic book movie scene is when Superman fights Clark Kent. I think that's fucking awesome. No, I guess I'm the only one there.
Okay. I gotta re-see the movies.
You've never seen 3 and 4, right?
No, I gotta re-see them.
Okay. Alrighty, here we go.
Probably.
My number 10 is Last Action Hero.
Oh wow!
For anyone that doesn't know Last Action Hero, that is a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger where he is an action star named Jack Slater, I believe, And then there's a boy who goes to the movies to see it, and they give him a magical ticket, not a golden ticket, a magical ticket, and he goes into the movie. And he basically becomes a part of the action movie. It's cheesy, it's campy, it's super, super fun. I have a really good time with it. But I will say the scene that I love the most is that in that alternative universe within the movie, Sylvester Stallone is the lead in all of Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies. So when they go to the video store, I think they go to Blockbuster, and they have a Terminator 2 stand-up, like those old stand-ups that they used to have in video stores, and Sylvester Stallone is playing Arnold's role in the Terminator.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it's a good scene. I really enjoy that. My number 9 is what I consider, it's not my favorite, but what I consider the greatest worst movie ever made, The Room.
The Room, yeah.
Have you guys seen that movie?
God, no.
I think you guys should see that movie. Especially you, Leo, since you went through The Fanatic. I think you would appreciate me more as a friend if you saw The Room.
So I watched the oh my gosh, the honest trailers of The Room, and I think I lived enough through that that I don't want to put myself through it.
No, you haven't, because it'll make you want to play football with your friends. You're going to want to throw that football around just as when this quarantine is over. After watching The Room, you're going to want to go throw the football around with friends, and you're going to want to, anytime I see this movie, the best scenes for me are when they throw the football around, which is hilarious. When Tommy Wiseau has sex in the movie. Why do I say that? Because it's played, by the way, this movie was made in the 2000s, and it's played with early 90s like R&B, and he's literally like having sex with a belly button because he is way up high and she is way down low. And then You're Tearing Me Apart, Lisa. That's another great part of the movie. And when he picks up the flowers towards the end of the movie, that is another highlight scene because it happens in about 5 seconds, and you can tell they're just running through the dialogue. It is so great.
Wait, so how many times have you watched this movie?
The Room? Oh, like 5 or 6 times. The Room is great. The Room is such awfully garbage that you can watch and enjoy forever. My number 8 is Independence Day.
Ooh.
So I think Independence Day is not a good movie. I think it's way too long. Just want to put that out there. But it's such a guilty pleasure for me, especially Will Smith in that movie is so over the top that it's hilarious to watch. Just like when he punches the alien, he's like, "Welcome to Earth." Who wrote that shit? Come on. Who wrote garbage like that? But outside of that movie comes the greatest presidential speech in movie history. And that is, today we celebrate our Independence Day. That speech is phenomenal. And that's my number 8. My number 7 is Little Giants. And I did go with this kids movie, Leo. I know that was a criteria you
said. That was for me, though.
Yeah, so I went with Little Giants. I think Little Giants is such a fun, entertaining watch. And because of Little Giants, we have our MVP award for our Reel It Backs is named after Becky O'Shea. So Little Giants is great. My favorite scene in that movie is when the NFL players come to where the Little Giants are training, and John Madden and the smart kid start going over the annexation of Puerto Rico. Hilarious stuff. My number 6, and here comes a big wolf from you guys, I expect. Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, come on.
Super Mario Brothers is not the movie we deserved, but it's the movie we got.
Watched it more than once?
Oh, I've seen that movie plenty of times. I wore out the VHS on Super Mario Bros. When I was a kid.
Who are you?
Listen, it's nothing like the video game. And Luigi is Puerto Rican in this movie, not Italian. But it's still very entertaining for how bad it is. I just watch it and look at all the bad stuff. I mean, it's the definition of a cult classic. If I do have to say a scene that I like in that movie, it's right after Mario and Luigi put on the red and green suit for the first time, and they're in the elevator dancing with the Goombas to move them around so they could escape the elevator. I like that scene. So that is my 10 through 6. Jenny, take it away.
So my number 5 is Clue.
Oh, Clue's so good. I give Jenny credit on that. Clue's
honestly,
so good.
not everyone will think that this is a great movie, but like it over the years, it's gotten a cult following. It's just really, really good. I don't think it needs to be remade because I think the last rumor was, right, Ryan Reynolds wanted to remake it.
Yep.
You have such a great cast. You have Tim Curry, Madeline Stowe, Michael McKean. My God, who else is in it? Eileen Brennan. Like, it's just so good. Martin Mull. Such a great cast playing every character from the board game. My favorite scene is when Madeline Stowe is talking about her husband, and then she's just like, the flames, it was so hot. Really good. Number 4 is the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
You think that's a cult classic?
That's a cult.
No,
that
it is
has
a cult classic.
Following.
But you think that's a guilty pleasure?
I think so because by definition, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, not everyone is going to think that that's a good movie. If you think about it, it's not everyone's cup of tea. It definitely has a cult following, and it really,
it definitely has a cult following.
The people that watch it or that have developed this love for it and everything. And I mean, just think about like they used to play it at midnight. They still do in theaters, and obviously it developed as like tradition, and people fell in love with it. But like you bring someone who, I don't know, we've brought people to watch it with us and they haven't felt the same way with it. And I watched this as a kid. I just had never seen it in person until you took me. But it's not everyone. So that I definitely think is I guess
you're right.
Pleasure.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Because I wouldn't even say it's one of my favorite movies, but I love this movie so much.
Yeah, because I think 75% of that movie is really good. It's
the ending is a little rough.
The latter ending. Like, it's funny because Jenny and I do the Rocky Horror Picture Show when we go to Monster Mania Con. And over the last maybe year and a half, we've gotten used to watching for half of the movie.
Like up to a certain point. And
then we're like, all right, this is about to slow down.
But I think we really have only like 15, 20 minutes before, and then we like leave right before that.
Yeah. But
it slows.
I still highly recommend that you guys go check it out with a live audience because that is a sight to see.
Yeah, it's a different experience. And then my number 3 is 9 to 5. And so by definition, again, it's not I don't think people would define this as a great movie either.
It's an Oscar nominee.
Is the movie an Oscar nominee or the song? Song, I believe, is the Oscar nominee.
No, I know what the song is.
But great movie. Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, Dolly Parton. It's such a good movie. My favorite scene is every time they're trying to get back. They just start scheming. They end up getting fed up with their boss. He's like this male chauvinist pig, and like they just decide to go to leave work early and go to like happy hour, and then they end up going back to their house and they end up smoking, and then they start fantasizing how they would get back at him. And so the next morning they really start to think like, how do we get back at him? How do we institute like better work policies? And just seeing that all happen is great. And then my number 2 is Mannequin. You can't tell me. Pleasure. I was like, you cannot tell me that is not a. And for anyone that has seen Mannequin or Mannequin 2 on the Move, which I guess I do kind of like, but it's not the same as Mannequin because Mannequin holds a special place in my heart. Not everyone would say Mannequin is a great movie.
You're not wrong there.
It is. Yes, I guess I would say it was one of my favorites. Andrew McCarthy, Kim Cattrall. Great film. James Spader's in it. It has another one that has a really Estelle Getty.
Robert California's in that?
Robert California's in that. He plays the villain, let's say. Really good cast. And then it's just a good movie.
By the way,
yeah.
22% on Rotten Tomatoes, 55% audience score.
For Mannequin?
Yeah, for Mannequin.
Oh, yeah. See? It's so good. And so, like, my favorite scene is when she finally, like, he's trying to get her to come to life, and then she finally comes to life for, like, their first date, let's say. And then really the one that seals everything is the ending with the song that was actually our wedding song, because it's such a great ending and such a good so it's Starship, Nothing's Gonna Stop. I think it's Starship. Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now, which I believe was actually nominated for an Oscar.
Yes, it was.
So it can't be that bad.
All right, Rye, go ahead.
All right, my number 5 is Mallrats.
That's not a
Love
guilty
them.
pleasure.
You don't think so? I mean,
I
a
don't
lot
know.
of
I
people
think
didn't
Mallrats-
like it.
I think that's. I don't know. I think Mallrats is actually. I don't know. Maybe I'm blinded by Kev, but like I think that's a. I actually think it's a good movie. But go ahead. Let me,
All right.
what's your favorite
and
scene?
I can't say the entire movie. Shit.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say what I would hope you said.
Chocolate covered pretzel. Just
No.
because.
Oh, my favorite scene is the scene with him and Stan.
Oh, of course. I mean, only because chocolate covered pretzel is so funny and it's resonated with me in so many different, even circles of friends.
I don't even want to ask how.
Just the joke itself, like we would just go to each other. You want a chocolate covered pretzel?
I thought you were going somewhere, right?
Number 4, Batman 66.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But some days you just can't get rid of a bomb, okay? And some days you just like a bomb.
And some days you just can't get a shark off your leg.
Unless you have repellent. Number 3, Space Jam.
Yes.
Oh wow, okay.
Absolutely love the movie. I can't even really that one. I can't think of a particular scene that I guess the basketball game itself.
I remember watching that movie, and even at 10 years old, I knew Michael Jordan's career and life pretty well because I'm like obsessed. He's my favorite athlete of all time, right? So I'm watching the movie, and I'm like, those aren't his kids, and I don't think he live in such a small house. But yeah, I do love Space Jam. Go ahead.
And number 2, Batman and Robin.
Yes.
And I would say the final fight for my favorite scene.
Favorite scene? All right, Leo, go ahead.
My number 5, Sucker Punch.
Okay.
Oh.
Look, I'll be honest with you. It started off strictly, and my apologies, Jenny, but it strictly started because the girls are all hot. And
It's okay.
nothing
you
wrong
don't
with
have
that.
to apologize.
but it really quickly then turned like, oh wait, this actually has an interesting plot. And again, I know most people don't like it. I know most people think it's terrible, but I still really enjoy it. My number 4 is a little bit of a cheat too. It's the whole Resident Evil franchise.
Oh yeah, those old movies suck. Oh yeah, Leo, that's a good one. They all fucking stink.
Here's a really good telltale part when you're looking up to see if a movie's is a guilty pleasure. I put it on my list and I'm like, oh, but I'm sure everyone liked it. And then I went on Rotten Tomatoes and realized in the entire franchise has not scored higher than a 30.
So, Leo, you know what's the irony about the Resident Evil? Why I hate it is because it has nothing to do with the game, which is ironic that that's the reason you hate comic book movies, but you still like this franchise that has nothing to do with the games.
Because I'm not a gamer, so I didn't even know that.
It's just funny. Like, I remember watching and I expected the first one. I mean, I don't think any of them are good, but when we got to the second one, they were hyping up a big character, and I'm like, oh well, this sucks. This doesn't work at all.
Yo, Dave, it's so funny you mentioned that because after I like the movie so much, I'm like, oh, the video game is gonna be just like this.
No.
I started looking it up and I'm like, oh wait, video game fans must be pissed.
Yeah, the video game is actually good.
My number 3 is a movie I've mentioned on the podcast before. I know most people don't enjoy it. I still do. It's Step Up to the Street.
Well, excuse me, did you just say Step Up?
To the streets.
To the streets. Like step Up to Electric Boogaloo?
That's when the dancing became battle dancing. And yeah, something, yeah, I don't know. Look, I don't know. That's just, it is what it is.
Leo, I have a question for you. So, do you think because everyone's favorite director, Zack Snyder, directed Sucker Punch, while you prefer Sucker Punch, because it's near the top of your guilty pleasure, what's a better movie, Sucker Punch or Batman v Superman?
Better movie?
Better movie.
I will say I think it's Sucker Punch because there's actually better character development
because it's an hour and like 10 minutes shorter.
Fair, yeah, no, this is look, fans, I'm sorry for these lists. These are really terrible movies.
Good times. This is a good times. We all need this crappiness in our lives right now.
People are gonna go home and watch Grandma's Boy now.
Was that your Leo? That was your number 2?
That was number 3. My number 2. It gets worse than that. My number 2 is Never Back Down. Now, I don't know if anyone
Oh my God, Leo, I love you, I love you, I love you. Because the other day, Jenny and I were going through through movies.
He hasn't said that to me in like 3 weeks of quarantine.
Well, I tell her I love you before I go to bed every day, so she's a liar. I don't like liars. So, we're going through the streaming through I think it was Showtime and Never Back Down came up, and I'm like, I was like 16 and I actually liked this movie. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but I actually thought it was actually pretty entertaining. I'm so glad that someone else likes it on this planet but me.
Oh my God, dude, I'm so glad someone else exists that's seen this movie. Yeah, it's a 2008 movie. It's about this kid that is like it's like Karate Kid. He moves into a town. The rich kids are picking on him. He learns how to fight.
No.
It's way better than Karate Kid.
It's not like Karate Kid because Daniel LaRusso's the villain. So let's not compare it to the Karate Kid. But no, you know what it is? You know what I compare it to, guys? Especially in this era? It's if Riverdale did an episode about MMA. That is Never Back Down.
That's a really good, yeah. It's got Amber Heard, Evan Peters before he became Quicksilver, Damon Hansu's in it. Like, the cast is not that bad. My favorite scene in this, though, and for some reason it always makes me want to work out, is the training montage with red jumpsuit apparatus. Do
you think Jenny would like this movie?
I think she will appreciate it, though. I think it's not that bad, actually. But again, it is that bad. That's the point of this list.
It is. It's terrible. It's so bad. That's one of those movies so I saw it with first time I was like 15 or 16. And then like 10 years later, I was on RT and I was just browsing. I'm like, oh, Never Back Down. I wonder what the score is. It's not good.
It's not good. Again, yeah, this whole list has been Rotten Tomato disapproved.
For sure.
Yeah, that's my number 2 then.
Alrighty. So moving on to my number 5. My number 5 is Over the Top.
Oh, dude, that was so close to being on my list.
I remember watching this movie on TNT as a kid, and I fell in love with it because you know why? You know what drew me to it? There were wrestlers in it. So, Ryan, have you ever seen Over the Top?
Can't say that I have.
So Terry Funk is in it. He's like a bodyguard.
Oh, really?
And that's what drew me. I'm like, oh, I know that guy. He's a wrestler. And then I ended up seeing Sylvester Stallone show us that when you're angry and you're ready to go, just turn your hat backwards and it's all good.
Yeah, you turn your baseball cap.
And it's all good. And when you're feeling down and you don't know if you're going to make it, all you got to do is just go over the top and you're good to go. Yeah, Over the Top is fantastic. I think I'll go because Rocky 4 is, I'm surprised Rocky 4, well, we'll get to that. But I think Rocky 4 is a really bad movie. And definitely a guilty pleasure. But I think out of his really bad 80s movie, I think Over the Top is probably my favorite out of his really bad 80s.
It's the most ridiculous. It really is.
Oh, it is. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, he runs his truck through a mansion and he doesn't get arrested? Nah, that doesn't work for me. But yeah, that's my number 5. My number 4 is The Mighty Ducks. Another kid's movie. Yeah, that movie's not good at all. You know what's funny about The Mighty Ducks? That the lowest rated is the third one, and the third one is the most serious of the 3.
Yeah.
Because the third one, I don't know if you guys ever seen the third one. It's very, like, they're in high school. They're dealing with, like, all these high school dilemmas and stuff like that. It's not your cliche kids movie anymore, and it is.
Don't they fight the Russians in part 3?
No, they fight the Russians in part 2.
Part 2,
No,
okay.
They don't fight the Russians. They fight Iceland.
Iceland, I'm sorry.
Yes. Iceland is the villains in part 2. But I actually genuinely like the entire trilogy. I'm actually excited for the Disney Plus show that's coming. But my favorite scene in The Mighty Ducks is the final triple deke from Charlie. That's awesome. Even though Charlie should not have taken that penalty shot, but it is what it is. Gordon Bombay was having relations with Charlie's mom, so he had to make her happy. Number 3 is 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Respectable.
Yeah, this is another movie that when I started knowing what RT is and looking at reviews of it, I didn't know it was very disliked. I mean, I figured everyone loves Talking Turtles. But for me, I think that movie is pretty dark, right? I don't know if you...
Yeah.
They literally put... Ralph is in a coma just for, like, 5 days and shit. So,
True.
and I think the movie's pretty dope. The songs from the score is actually really good. My favorite scene in that movie is when April's building's burning down after Ralph gets his ass kicked by the Foot Clan. So that's my favorite scene. My number 2 is Space Jam.
Nice.
And I mentioned before when I first saw that movie, I was like, that's not Michael Jordan's life. Best parts about this movie is Bill Murray. And my favorite scene in the movie is actually, it does take place during the game, but when he's jumping from the half court line and he stretches out, I think that's the most fucking ridiculous thing ever. And that is my favorite scene. And then I will kick off the number 1 because my number 1 is probably the most obvious. That is Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin is cinematic gold. Batman and Robin is the answer to everyone that wanted a modern day Batman 66. Because Batman, I argued with people many times, especially those that love Batman 66. As a matter of fact, the perfect example is I was at a line at a con, and there was someone in front of me talking about Batman and Robin and how it sucks. And then they started talking about Batman 66. And you guys know me. I always have an opinion.
You never.
God, I don't believe you. Please no.
I asked him. I don't think I was dating Jenny at the time. So I was like, so let me ask you something. You think Batman 66 is great, but why? And he's like, oh, because it's so campy and it's so over the top and ridiculous. And I'm like, what about Batman and Robin is not campy? And what about Batman and Robin is not over the top and ridiculous? Immediately stayed shut. And I'm like, you can like one more than the other, but don't say one's garbage when they're both doing the exact same thing. And I personally think Batman and Robin does it better than Batman 66. Why? Because of Arnold Schwarzenegger. My favorite, I have 3 favorite things about Batman and Robin. Arnold Schwarzenegger's puns. I don't have a favorite one. I guess if I have to pick one randomly, I'm just gonna say
the Ice Age.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. And
nice to see
you. Yes. You're not taking me to the cooler. Yeah. And then it's not a pun. I guess it's a pun when him and Poison Ivy are talking about taking over the world, and he's like, the only thing left is going to be Adam and Evil. Such great shit. And by the way, the opposite of this, Poison Ivy is garbage. She is absolute garbage in this movie. Thank God we have Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't think it would be on my list if it wasn't for Arnold. On top of that, George Clooney's head bob is another top-notch thing in Batman and Robin. It never moves. It's like it never stops moving. It's a goddamn bobblehead. And I do love the use of the Bat credit card.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I do enjoy that because where was he keep
Bat nipples?
See, I'm not going to mention Bat nipples because everyone talks about Bat nipples. I think it's well known, and I don't particularly care for that anyway. And also more very ridiculous is that Batmobile, because Batman would never have a Batmobile with a disco ball in it. But as you can hear by
maybe Robin put it there.
Maybe him and his stupid ass bike. But and one last thing before we move on. Barbara, Alicia Silverstone, she's not British. How's she related to Alfred? And I leave you guys with that. Leo, take it away.
Oh man, I knew that movie was gonna be on your list. I'm still
You still think it's bad? It's so good.
Oh look, like if I was the kid that you shut down all those years ago, my retort to your question is quite simple.
Yes.
1966 was supposed to be campy. Tim Burton changed all that, and then it got stripped away from him.
So, if you would have came at me with that, I would have countered with, yes, you are right. Tim Burton created a dark universe, but Warner Brothers, and especially for Batman and Robin, Warner Brothers wanted it to be more campy and wanted it to be more for kids so they can sell toys. If that's not the definition of making a movie campy and for kids, I don't know what is.
Oh, you're definitely right. They did it perfectly, and I agree with you. I think they even did it better than the movie 66 did.
No, I mean they also did it purposely, not perfectly. I think they did it perfectly, but it was also on purpose. The movie we got, it was never supposed to be a serious movie.
It wasn't. It wasn't. And you're right. It was filmed for what it was supposed to be. But like as a fan, when I went into it, I didn't expect it to be campy. I went into expecting it to be a continuation of the Tim Burton Batman Returns universe.
You know what's crazy? That it's funny that you mentioned the Burton verse. You know what we can blame for Batman and Robin? As much as I love it, Batman Returns. If Batman Returns was not as dark as it was, and it kept the same par as '89, I think we would have been able to get 4 Tim Burton movies.
You're absolutely right, because they went too crazy.
Too crazy. Like green blood, and then cats eating Michelle Pfeiffer's fingers. Like, I love Batman Returns, don't get me wrong, but I think that movie has a lot of flaws.
I agree. Definitely. Well, we could definitely go into the flaws on
another episode, but go ahead, Leo. Take us home.
No, my number one is a movie that, now that I know more about the character, I understand how terrible this movie really was.
Ooh.
And I know the actor is capable of so much amazing work, but this movie definitely is not one of his better work.
I know what it is. I think I know what it is. Go ahead.
My number one is a movie that I have to put on. It's a comic book movie, so I definitely stay.
Oh, I know what it is. I know exactly what it is.
It's Constantine.
No, it's not what I thought it was. I thought you were going to say Wolverine.
No. I do love Wolverine. I like that movie more than Logan.
Did you just say you like X-Men Origins Wolverine? You like that movie more than Logan?
I did. I actually did.
Are you okay?
No. That I will completely agree that's a ridiculous. Yeah, I'll rewatch X-Men Origins Wolverine more than I'll rewatch Logan. But that's not even it. But Constantine is actually my number one. Ironic, yeah. Constantine, for some reason, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Keanu Reeves is nothing like what the character is supposed to be whatsoever. There's demons. There's possession. There's Shia LaBeouf, which is weird.
Shia LaBeouf is in Constantine?
Yeah, he's the young sidekick.
Right. Oh my god, I don't remember.
He plays a young sidekick named Chaz or Chad. Yeah, so this was back when Shia was just a sidekick character. He was not a leading man. Around his Even Stevens days.
Love Even Stevens.
But yeah, no, Constantine, I know for a fact that every movie I said on this list, I have to always make sure to preface, I know it's bad. Not only is bad, but I will make a point. I will put it on whenever it's available because I still enjoy it.
Great choice. All right, Ryan, go for it.
My number one is Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back.
Of course it is. How can I forget? Oh, that should have been on my list too. Oh, that's a good one. I feel so awful for that. Go ahead, Ryan.
You should.
I suck. Go ahead.
No, it's my favorite comedy of all time, as we discussed like a couple weeks ago. Yep. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. If I'm ever down, if I'm ever depressed, I put that on and I'm feeling better. I can watch it over and over. I know every word that is in that script. Like, my friends can't watch it with me anymore. Like, they enjoy the film, but they're like, no, we can't watch it anymore because you can't help yourself to say some of the words at times. Like, I can't help it. Sorry.
That's
like,
and I think you've said this before, but what's your favorite scene?
It's a tie. It's a three-way tie, honestly. It's Jay's rap.
Yes.
It's who's stupid now, you dirty sheep fucker. And Boo Boo Kitty Fuck.
Oh, I love Boo Boo Kitty Fuck. I'm with you on the rap. I love the rap.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, the rap. Like I said,
and I love the spoof of The Fugitive when they're at the top of that.
Wait, I have a question for you guys because I love those movies too, but in my mind they're more culturally accepted, which is why I left them off my list. But now I'm wondering, do you think the three of us we like them more because we're Jersey kids and the movies are they're pretty heavily influenced by New Jersey?
So
do you think outside of the New Jersey world people don't like them this much?
Yes, I actually think so because I've spoken to people that are in the quote snob department like I am, and they do not like it at all. They don't like him at all, let alone that. Like, they like Clerks and they like, Chasing Amy, stuff like that. But no. Strike Back is definitely, like you said, Leo, like a Jersey thing. And not just a Jersey thing, nice. A Kevin Smith fan thing.
Yeah, it's a nice popcorn movie. It's exactly what it is.
But you nailed it. Like, I could really put it on whenever and just run through it real quick. I really do enjoy Strike Back. And let's finish off with Jen. I know what it is. And despite us getting on her before about her choices, her number one is a perfect example of a guilty pleasure. It is
it's an iconic
from another perspective of someone that's seen it twice because of her. That movie is...
Yes, but you've always seen it and been like super negative about it. You didn't just let it go into
To my defense, so has anyone around you.
No, that's not true because
Shout
I
out
do
to Adrian.
know. No, okay, Adrian, yes, bestie, but then Lauren likes it too. Lauren likes it. Adrian hates it.
My sister likes it too.
Your sister likes it too?
Yeah, my sister likes it too. I don't understand.
Friend of the show, Chris Chin, likes it. There
Ryan,
are
what do you
people
think?
that like it.
I don't even know what movie we're talking about, to be honest.
So go ahead.
So
go
the
for
movie is Grease 2.
Oh, fuck no.
You were listening to a wrestling podcast the other day where they love Grease 2. And I think they summed it up really well where they said, there hasn't been a time now that Grease, the original, wasn't always around or always on TV or just everywhere. But then, like, if you discovered Grease 2, which is how I did, especially, was like it was just on like one of those HBO. You know how HBO used to have like 50 channels, HBO this, HBO that, HBO whatever. Like, I just discovered it randomly one time as a kid. I can't say, I don't remember the exact age, but I must have been like 8 or 9, and it was just on TV, and I'm like, what is this? And then it's like Grease, and I'm like, wait a second, this isn't Grease, because believe me,
sure not.
I watched the original Grease or listened to the music 1,000 times because, let alone, it was just a John Travolta movie, and it was always playing in my house. So, shout out to my mom, Alina, for that. And so, I was like, Grease, what is this? So then, like, obviously I saw going in, I'm like, oh, look, you have some of the players from the first movie, like the principal and Sid
all
Caesar,
the C characters
and all that. Yeah, but they're continuing on. And so I'm like, what is it? And then I see Michelle Pfeiffer, I see all these other people, and I'm like, wow, this is interesting. And the music is just as catchy. You cannot tell me that you don't, let's say you never even watched the movie, just listen to the movie soundtrack and you'll be blown away. Like, it's just as catchy as the original songs. And obviously, if you watch the movie, you'll kind of like just fall in love with it, and then you'll be listening to, so my favorite scene from it is Cool Rider, where Michelle Pfeiffer is talking about the kind of guy that she wants because she doesn't really want to be, so she's a pink lady, she's the head of the pink ladies, and then as a pink lady you have to date a T-Bird, and she really is not about that life, and so she just doesn't want to have to be stuck to like a guy. She doesn't want to be told what she has to do. It's their senior year, and she's just like, F this, I'm over it. And so she's dreaming about this guy that she wants, and then Maxwell Caulfield, who was actually also in Empire Records as Rex Manning, comes in. He's a cousin. He's Sandy's cousin. This is how they bring him in. And basically, like, he falls in love with Michelle Pfeiffer's character, Stephanie Zanoni, and he sort of changes, he makes over himself to be the guy that she wants. And then at one point in the movie, like, he doesn't tell her who he is, and she like falls for him briefly, and then he, after, and then it's just great. It's great. It's a great film. Everyone watch it. And then I loved it when we went to the Alamo Draft House and we got to see it on the big screen. And then the director was there, and one of the cast members, who actually was the director's daughter, was there. And I got my VHS signed. And I don't know. It's just, it's catchy. It's not for everyone, I guess. But like, if you give it a shot, it's not a bad time, guys.
So shout out to the Wrestling Inc. podcast. That's where we heard the Grease take. So
we are out there. Okay.
So right, as a wrestling fan, I have because the hot take came from a wrestling podcast, I have a wrestling comparison. Raya, you ready?
Yeah, I'm listening.
So Grease 2 is like the NWO without Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall.
What the hell?
No.
Pretty
It is
pretty much.
It is when they went to the Wolfpack, and the NWO
No,
Black
the
and
Wolfpack
White
was even better.
Yeah, and then the NWO Black and White is like Virgil. It's like Virgil. Grease 2 is the Virgil of sequels.
Grease 2 is the BWO or the LWO.
Yeah.
No one knows who Virgil is on this podcast.
People know who Virgil are.
No, not who's listening.
So
anyway, Grease 2 is
a
amazing,
national treasure.
guys, and I will forever say it. I will never change or turn
So,
my
Jen,
back.
I think if you have the time this week, you should throw our number ones. I'd say next Friday, throw our number ones up there and see which one people like the most.
Fine.
I was gonna say do the list and then see who's the guiltiest.
I'm a little hesitant because I feel like I'm gonna lose in this poll, but whatever.
I think
It's cool.
I think Ryan's gonna win on this poll. To be honest with you.
All right, I'll throw him
win
up.
at something.
All right, so that wraps everything up for this week's Real Chronicles. Next week we may be looking at an anniversary of a favorite film of mine, and after that we have some nice brand new top 10s coming your way. But until then, stay safe and see you at the movies. Watch movies at home, kids.